Warriors Unite! Back with another episode of Vega Warriors 2 in the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are doing wonderful on this Saturday evening. Thank you guys for all the nice comments, feedback, all the things that are important for us to continue on this quest. It is a conquest that we have to conquest ourselves first and conquest things around us through God's name and God's purposes. So hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for feedback. Thanks for the great ideas. Thanks for donations. I appreciate all of that. And we're going to talk about an interesting topic today. The Kings of the Crown gave us one. And I want to kind of talk about this idea in a couple minutes here. But let's do some shout outs real fast here first. Let's see what I got left. I got God's Gladiators. Thank you, my friend. Herbst 888. Thank you. Andrew McNeils, thank you. Micio Cruz, thank you. Luke Paine, if I'm getting these right. Davion, thank you. Phillip. Ptica Nebeska, thank you. Gio the Genius, thank you as always. He-Man, thank you. Solitaire Records Officiel, thank you. Jon the Dawn, twice, thanks. James Worley, thank you. Check 392, thank you. Soul Aguilar, thank you, my friend. Knowledge Berakah, thank you, my friend. Jon the Dawn, thank you. Looking like a pink rabbit, thank you. Seeker, Ptica Nebeska 2, thank you. Andrew McNeils, thank you. Phoenix Rising, thank you. Brother K Ford 720, thank you. Alpha 777, thank you. Moy Hernandez, thank you. Mike L. Hizkiyohu, thank you. God's Gladiators, thank you. John Jennings, thank you. Oleg, thank you, my friend. Paddy Moriarity, thank you, my friend. Andrew McNeils, 60, thank you for that comment. I appreciate that. 60 days, thank you. Congratulations. Keep it up, my friend. And Sibusiso Cedric, 01. Thank you, my friend. So thank you guys for your comments. I want to make sure I have my list here so I know I'm stopping. I'll continue these tomorrow at the 2-minute mark, so we want to kind of get into our topic. All right, so at the 2-minute, 15-second mark, let's talk about this topic that was given to us by Kings of the Crowd. I like this one. He's talking about this mentality that we have for conquest. Conquesting and really kind of a conquest mentality with people. So let's examine this, Warriors, because I think this is really kind of an interesting type of phenomenon, phase, thought pattern when it comes to this. Now, let's think about when you release. You are really kind of releasing energy. For what reason is the key point. When we talk about having intercourse, we talk about having sex, we're really talking about the physical activity. Now, of course, it's great that if you're in love and you have a connection emotionally, spiritually with a person, that's wonderful. But a lot of times now in our society, people are doing body counts and all kinds of stuff where they're just having free, sex every night, intercourse, things like that. And not only from a semen retention purpose, it's hurting them. Just the mentality alone about the whole act is destroying them. And the reason for this is because, just like anything else, if you have a lot of it, now you continue to want to increase it and better, but you're not happy with the original amount you had. So if you have a nice car, it's nice for about 6 months. Now you want something better. The same thing happens with partners and especially if you're just kind of sleeping around, all kinds of stuff like that. And so what happens is that you just want to become better. You want better and better, and you became satiated. And your thought pattern is not really one of, I'm appreciative, I'm grateful. It's more like, how can I get another level? This is what happens when people are, even serial killers. They've done documentations on those people who've gotten, in serial killers and killed a bunch of people. They start off easy with like porn, and then they went into more types of things that are more deviant. And this type of thing becomes a real trend with people because they're not satisfied anymore with the sensation they had originally. So how does it affect what we're talking about? Well, how it affects what we're talking about is the fact that people just do not have sex just for a release. I mean, that's maybe part of what ends up happening, But what they're really doing, it's a focus on control and conquest. And especially from the male standpoint. Females also have this conquest standpoint in a different way, but they do. So what happens, what you're talking about, and we talk about battling and warriors and war, this whole idea of sex is really a battle of conquest. And what happens is that when you're sitting there and you're having a body count, you're just kind of putting numbers on the wall saying, okay, I have this body count. It's almost like, back in the old days with animals and skins, and you got this one, you're kind of putting numbers together saying this is how many people I killed, or in this case, how many people I slept with. It becomes such a formal type of thing that each person becomes a number. They don't become an actual person. I mean, that person's kind of gone out the window in their mind a long time ago. All you have is a body, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and, make love to this body. I don't care what it looks like. And I probably do care what it looks like, but I don't care about the emotional aspect. I don't care about the connection, any of those type of things, because all I care about is getting that number in the book. So can I go out this night and show, compare myself with my friends or other people, whoever you're comparing yourself with, saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and sleep with this person. I have slept with these many people. And I heard this even on TikToks and different types of things I've seen, in YouTube videos and things like this over the years that I've seen women sitting there and talking, men are talking about how many people they've slept with. Woman says 350. Another person says 100. Now, whether they're right or making it up, the mentality is still the same mentality. The mentality is really one of conquesting numbers. And basically what that means is that everybody is a number. They're not really a person. They're just saying, okay, if I slept with you and I released, or whatever might be the expectation they have, then that person is the person that go ahead and say, okay, that's a number. That's another chalk on the board there. There's another number added to my collection. It's a collection. What you're doing is picking up collections. So how does this really affect what we're talking about? Well, it affects everything a great deal, because you're not really doing it for the sex. The pleasure for a few minutes is great for people, especially if they think they're never going to see this person again, right? I mean, in their minds, they can probably say this is great, but it's only done for a number on the charts, or whatever you want to do, right? It's only because of that number. So people are not really connecting with each other, and emotionally, it has no emotional effect for people at all. Now, down deep, what happens is that person's soul becomes really cold and hard, as the Bible talks about, and that person has no ability to feel or soul. They become soulless. They become a zombie walking around. And that's why we talk about those zombies walking around. They have no feeling left at all. They cannot reach down and have any kind of emotion. It's all gone, because they've had so many encounters that they've become numb and cold to the whole situation. And so that's why we talk about this idea of the conquest of mentality. Your mental frame is thinking, okay, I don't care about this person as a conquest. Or this woman says, I'm trying to get this guy to pay me attention because it's a conquest. This is the mentality that gets people down the wrong path in a temptation, because you're not looking at a person as a long-term relationship or any kind of, idea as a friend or anything like that. You're looking at them as a sex object, and males and females both do this. It's not just one. And basically what you're doing is you're looking at them as a conquest number. This is why this becomes a real dangerous idea in our society. Because once you have this idea, then people become worthless to you. In your mind, all they are is a number. They're going to be added on to your list. And so if you're a man, you become, someone like a player out there who says, I'm just going to go ahead and have so many women, and they don't mean anything to me at all, okay? And unfortunately, some of those women who may have feelings and want to have some kind of friendship relationship, that person doesn't care about it. A woman's perspective, they become someone like, the Enchantress in the Marvel books, right? They're a person who's just putting spells on people because they don't really care. All they're trying to do is get that person's attention, that soul, and take control of that person. And it becomes a control type of thing. And this is why we sit there and say we have to have our self-control. Because if you cannot control yourself, these other people will control you, males or females. Because it goes right back down to the idea that you are looking for some level of control in your life. We all need some control warriors. We need to have some order. Peace comes from knowing, having order in your life, not having a lot of chaos all the time, understanding what life's about. For me, that's become spiritual. This is why my journey is spiritual now. I realize it's got nothing to do with material things on a day-to-day basis. It really goes back down to the spiritual aspect of the relationship you have with your Creator, in my case, Jesus Christ. That makes the big difference. And so all this other stuff does not matter anymore. And I think this is why Jesus talks about, putting your cross, put everything else down and, walk with me. Give up everything you have and walk with me. And the rich people cannot do that because they don't want to lose what they have. And that's the biggest issue when it comes to this type of thing. It's hard for people to have self-control because they like this short-term pleasure so much it becomes addictive, especially if they're controlling other people. If they have this idea of conquesting other people, and this is their thought pattern, this becomes this controlling nature. And I know a lot of experience of case studies and behavior I've had over the years of this conquest mentality. And if you get this conquest mentality and you cannot control yourself, other people will control you, and all of a sudden you're going to get tempted by many different opportunities out there. And this is why it's important to understand this whole concept of conquesting that people have. Because in the bottom line, unless you're procreating to have a child, and that's your purpose, all right? Or you're in a relationship where you're doing it for seeking the pleasure and having the pleasure of your giving your partner the pleasure of the relationship, or you're getting the pleasure of the relationship. If those things are not really being followed, and you're doing it just as a willy-nilly type of thing, to make who I run into or who I see at the parties and things like that, well then all of a sudden you got that whole mentality of conquesting, control. Who has the control, right? In relationships, when people, it goes back to the sexual thing, a lot of women can control men very easily because men have that visual need, and a lot of men who become these simps, the reason they're called simps is because women control them. Women can conquest them all the time. And so once men stand up for themselves and be themselves, and they don't need women because they look good around them, all of a sudden the power is gone. And now you have more of an equal type of footing there. In a lot of cases, men are walking away. I've seen lots of types of reports and things talking about the MGTOW movement and, women being really upset, especially in their late 20s and 30s, when they're hitting that wall. All of a sudden now they can't find men because men have seen how much their body counts are, and they can't trust that kind of relationship because they've had so many affairs or things. And it's not a person who a person is not really ready for a relationship. They may never be ready for a relationship because they've had so many different people in relationships they've had and one night stands and things like that. So when we talk about this whole idea of control, the reason why you're trying to control is because you want to have control and dominion over your world. And dominion over your world starts with you. We always think that maybe it's we're controlling everything else around us. That's not true, in my opinion. My opinion, it first starts out by controlling you. Now, once you control you, then other things react to you. In a sense, you are now to have dominion over things. Because other people, you don't need anybody else. You don't need money. So money is easier to woo, bring to you, right? You don't need women. So women become easier. Because all of a sudden you're focusing on yourself, your goals, you're doing those things to make your life better. You don't need any of that stuff. And it makes a big difference in life when you don't need that stuff, because now you become natural. You attract all these things to you because you don't need them. You're not desperate. And this is when you start getting into the problems of conquesting things, because you become desperate. Somehow people have this need to continue to control people, to take advantage of people, or to dominate people. And there is something to be said about males and females dominating, wanting domination, all things like that. even in deviant relationships, you still got people who are the dominant one and the passive one. But the question really becomes not so much of that, but the question is, can you control yourself? If you can control yourself and you can stick to your high value mentality, you're never going to be controlled by other people, because you're in control of the one thing that you need to be in control of, and that's your own will. You have a strong will. And because you have a strong will, you're not just going to go ahead and get caught in situations where now you have to, you have to do things you don't want to do, and you become a servant of the situation and a slave to the situation, because you basically have given up your self-control. You're a slave to the porn, you're a slave to the addictions and all the kinds of things you have. And because of that, you cannot control yourself, so therefore other things or other people are going to control you. And that's what you have to avoid. So again, in summary, my friends, you have to get away from this conquest mentality. You do not want to think about numbers. Numbers don't mean anything when it comes to males and females. What matters is the fact that you have self-control and that you're able to control yourself. And by nature, you're going to be able to control the things around you, and you'll see all things flowing to you instead of away from you. So thank you for a good topic, my friend. Kings of the Crown. We'll try to focus on another one. If I get a chance to do one tomorrow on Sunday, I will. If not, we'll do one Monday. Until then, my friends, I always leave with two things on this great Saturday evening in July. One, every day is a new day to a great warrior, and you guys, each one of you, great warriors. And number two, we always have to continue to wage this war against the evil one, because we know, and the bottom line has to be that we will be victorious, because we're able to conquest ourselves, and we're able to control ourselves and all the behaviors. It starts with semen retention, but it goes on to everything else as well. So because we need to continue to fight, I always make on the clarion call, battle